Well, so in the latest incident of U.S. legislators focusing on things that basically are only interesting to people in power, a bipartisan pair of Congress people are out with a new bill called Accountability for Cryptocurrency, and you guessed it, El Salvador. In a press release on California Democrat Norma J. Torres's website, they claim that the bill, quote, acts to mitigate the risks in the United States of El Salvador's adoption of Bitcoin as legal currency, end quote. The release goes on to cite concerns from the International Monetary Fund, good people, and repeatedly emphasizes the need to protect the U.S. financial system with its GDP in the tens of trillions of dollars from the apparently very dangerous El Salvadoran financial system with its GDP in the tens of billions. If this story sounds familiar, the Senate actually recently passed their own version of the bill, so it's clearly and perhaps somewhat bizarrely a priority for at least some in Washington. Zach, when you think about El Salvador, does it make you concerned for the U.S. financial system?
Who, me? Me concerned? No, I'm not concerned. I don't see what the concern should be. We're doing just fine over here in our chaotic state of, I don't know, constant discord. But yeah, it's okay. I think it's going to be fine. I don't know what the concerns are. It's something that lawmakers want to look into, and I guess they're trying to sort of couch it in the boldest phraseology that they can find. But sure, I don't know. I don't see what the problem is. Whatever. Yeah. Monroe's Doctrine. We should get Will out here for some 1800s history lessons.
For some history
Will
lessons.
Foxley, tune in. Yeah, that's all I got. No, Jen, I don't know. What do you see this as, Jen?
I had very much the same sentiment, Zach. There was news on this in February. They said that lawmakers were looking at cybersecurity, economic stability, and democratic governance. And President Bukele tweeted something that I thought was just great. We have it here. So let's take a look at the tweet, and then I'll add my thoughts.
Nations have a right to sovereignty and territorial integrity. They have the freedom to set their own course and choose with whom they will associate.
All right, so that was a video. The president of El Salvador tweeted that video in light of this news in February, and I thought that was really hilarious. There we have the president saying that nations have sovereignty. They have the ability to be their own nation. And then now we have the U.S. saying, we really need to look into this El Salvador thing because it's really going to affect the American financial system. And there's so many buzzwords being used when we talk about it, too. There's money laundering, China, preserving democracy. And I just don't see the relation between the two. I really think the U.S. is stretching, and this is an excuse to look into what is happening in El Salvador when it comes to using Bitcoin as legal tender. It's an excuse for them to look into what if more countries started using Bitcoin as legal tender? What would that actually mean for the dollar? And they are getting very, very scared. But Adam, I'll pass it back to you for final thoughts.
Yeah, so again, like with a story like this, I wind up being a little bit coy because I have very strong opinions in terms of kind of what's going on here. And this is a situation, where they're making noise about something that it really doesn't make sense to make noise about, so long as you're thinking about what's going on right now. But Jen, you kind of gave it away, which is that, when the IMF comes out, the International Monetary Fund, very powerful supranational organization, largely backed by the US and very much kind of the lender of last resort, right? This is effectively a loan shark who, people have to go to, countries have to go to under certain circumstances, who's saying, hey, what are you doing using a system where you might not need me as a loan shark? This could destabilize my whole business, right? And again, the business that we're talking about is the business of the US dollar sort of dominated global financial system. And it's not just El Salvador that's causing problems here. It's actually the US over and over again causing problems. We talked, I think, earlier this week or last week about India starting to look at perhaps using the SWIFT alternative created by Russia, because although Russia has been sanctioned, India doesn't really want to follow those sanctions because they would like to continue doing business with Russia. And so again, you just see over and over again that the sort of US and international IMF type perspective is that any alternative to what we're doing that isn't completely in our control and that lets us abuse, frankly, the power that we have, with a supposedly neutral infrastructure to get the policy outcomes that we want is a danger to the system, when really what they're saying is it's a danger to our control of everyone by nature of our control of the system. So this is, I think, a perfect example of that. And Jen, I think you said it exactly right, which is that the concern here really isn't about El Salvador. The concern is, what if it works in El Salvador? What if it works and then countries have an alternative to this system? That, I think, is something that's terrifying in a bipartisan way for really anybody who runs kind of the levers of power in, the most powerful country in the world.
I can't top that. That was good. That was a good summation of thoughts. I think, whether it proves successful is still a very open question, right? I mean, El Salvador hasn't been especially capable in rolling this out in a way that is beneficial to its entire population. So some of those details are still to be ironed out. But yeah, I think the prospect of it, sure, especially if it becomes widely adopted across that region or others, becomes a question. And people are thinking about that. Should it ultimately pan out? Right now, I don't know. We'll see.